The Bite Me podcast is coming right up, and it is brought to you every week right here on YouTube by Freedom Boats. It is the best shallow running boat on the water, and there is a model perfect for you. The Chiquita 14, the Eagle 16, the Patriot 18, the Commander 21, the beautiful Warrior like I have 23, or the big boy that runs so shallow, the General 26. Chet Moore and Pooty can customize it however you'd like, and there's a dealer near you, whether it's the Boatyard in Kemah or dealerships in San Antonio, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Port O'Connor, Houston, and Aransas Pass. Freedom Boats or freedomboatsusa.com. Welcome into the Bite Me podcast. Little known fact, Captain Dean has been sitting in that chair waiting for this podcast to start for 7 hours. He's been waiting for the podcast to start. That's where he is in terms of boredom and rehab and getting back from his back surgery. He's doing well. He's doing real well. If you didn't see the video we did, and I heard took a little trip down south, which is always good. But this is the Bite Me podcast. You have Captain Dean Thomas chomping at the bit, so to speak. Captain Scott Null always chomping at the bit. And Captain Caleb McCumber. Anyone? McCumber? He ain't here. You know, here's the deal. I could tell you that he texted us and said, I'm not going to make the podcast. I could tell you that, but it would be a lie. He just hasn't showed up. He just hasn't showed up. So if you know where Caleb McCumber is, Captain Caleb McCumber, he is MIA. I'm kidding. And that is my feeble attempt at an April Fool's joke, which is where we're going to start today's podcast right here. Caleb did, in fact, text us. I guess he's fishing. We'll get to all that. Scott probably knows because Caleb tends to bother him more than he bothers the rest of us. Did I say bother? Didn't mean that. Anyway,
I liked his 2-minute advance notice. You know,
yes, now that is true.
He just figured it out. 2 minutes. It was 3:28, and he realized he's not going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. Now that part is true. But don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Start out at Podbean. You can subscribe. Several hundred members are already on there, and the advantage there, you can get the podcast wherever you want, wherever there's a podcast, not wherever you want, but iTunes, Spotify, etc. But at Podbean, you can go back. Hey, what was that show that they were talking about? Blah blah blah. You can go to any show for the last pushing 6 years now. You realize it was 2018 when we started. I know Scott does.
Every time you talk about it, you knock a year.
I shortchange it. Yeah, I shortchange it. But I was looking at the first podcast on Podbean. You can go back to the very first podcast. It was no less than 3 days after I told Scott, hey, you want to do a podcast? I said, cool, show up Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday at the studios. That's when we used to do it there. Of course, we've advanced since then, mainly because of COVID, but we've advanced since then to be able to do this live.
As bored as I have been for 7 weeks, I still haven't felt the urge to go watch that.
The very first one. And you can't watch it. It's just audio only. But it was very rudimentary, but it worked. And look where we are now. Live on YouTube. If you can join us here every Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. I post it by about 6 p.m., but I fudge that sometimes depending on how much editing I have to do. Live on all your podcast streams, and of course the group page as well. And we're going to start with the group page. We get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions anyway. Texted to me, I know, or DM'd. I know Scott does as well. Dean does as well. But there were some questions on the group page that I thought were worth digging into. But we're going to start with April Fool's Day, which I cannot tell you how much I despise April Fool's Day. I hate it. It's like you get nothing out of it. You get nothing out of it.
Stay off social media if you don't like it, because every company, all these fishing companies, all these different ones, all put something goofy out.
Yes. And the thing about April Fool's Day, like, what are you going to say? Ha ha. Nobody's going to like you. Nobody's going to want you around because, if you say just kidding, well, then they're upset that you did that. If you don't, then they believe it. It's like nothing good happens. However, maybe occasionally something good happens. Because my question to start today's show, and by the way, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. Crossover fresh water lures that you can use in saltwater, certainly shallow running boats. And I have maybe it's just a me thing, very interesting thought on all these videos of boats ripping through shallows that just kind of bothers me. Bathymetric data and how it can help us all all kinds of stuff. Still want to see if Captain Dean and Scott did their homework, which I'm sure they did, maybe. And we might even dig into the old desal plant, and I'm sure we'll hear from the peanut gallery if Carrie is within earshot of Dean when we get to that and the desal plant later. But let's start with April Fools. Have you gotten your redfish call yet, fellas? That's on our group page. I guess, is it frog togs?
Toadfish, I think.
Toadfish.
Yeah, toadfish.
So I'll share it here, and I get it. They're promoting, but still, you asked, we listened. Introducing the Toadfish Redfish Grunt Call, developed in collaboration with elite fish linguists, which I didn't know there were any, and a retired jazz saxophonist, which that should be a dead giveaway. This is the first ever underwater call scientifically tuned to mimic the deep belly grunts of spawning redfish. Just one toot of this baby, and redfish will be tailing straight to your boat. Okay, so I didn't get got by this, as the kids like to say, but I did think later, I would try it. I'd give it a shot. Dean, you gonna stick your face in the water and give it a little toot?
Negative. Negatory. Sure? No. I'd choose the old-fashioned way where you just stand up there on the bow and, hey, fishy. And then same results. You're gonna get the same results.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey man, for the effort that they put into that, good job, guys.
That was about as good as you can as you can.
Yeah,
get.
I mean, that was a lot of your April Fool's stuff is pretty lame. That one was quite creative.
Scott, wasn't there another one that they posted earlier on the page?
I haven't seen it.
Fish call or something.
Yeah, somebody tagged me on that the one from Toadfish, the redfish call. But yeah, that's the only one I saw.
Yeah,
April Fool's.
Knew where it was going.
Mm-hmm. It's just like daylight savings time. They both should just go away,
or just keep it at daylight savings time. Get rid of standard time.
And why do we even have an April Fool's Day?
It's dumb.
It's dumb. It is my grandson's birthday, so.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a good day for that. That's good. Somebody said Wilderness has drone kayaks ready for you. So you got your drone kayak.
Yeah. And another company, little bitty kayak company called Apex, came out that they bought Pelican and Wilderness and all these different kayak companies.
Hey,
well, I don't know about that.
It is a news release.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to another couple things. I'm going to ask what you guys have been doing lately on the water and get into some of these topics. So Heroes on the Water. I did not want to forget that. This is not a joke. This is we're serious. That's going to be on Memorial Day, as we always talk. I know Camille has posted some stuff today. I shared it. Wanted to share with everybody here. We're going to be in Houston, but there's Heroes on the Water walks. Carry the load, I should say. They're benefiting Heroes on the Water. I said Heroes on the Water. I meant Carry the Load. Carry the Load is starting.
Correcting you behind me.
No, I knew that. I just said misspoke. I just misspoke. But it's Carry the Load. That's going to be on Memorial Day. We're gonna be at Fire Station 8, and that is going to be on the Saturday of Memorial Day. So I wanted to get that out there correctly to let people know. And then one more thing from the group page. We had a listener talking about some questions about ceramic coating and marine shield and all that. All I can tell you is I have already texted John Gray from Gulf Coast Marine Shield. He's going to send me a note, and I'll either share it here or share it on the group page for your question on that. So there we go. We're taking care of our listeners. I am going to take my new boat straight there. Well, maybe not straight there. I might have to take it out on the water a little bit. After I get it to get that marine shield and ceramic coating. It does make a big difference. All right, so let's get into this, and let's get into something that, frankly, it's a Scott question. I know Dean is going to weigh in, but you were pretty excited, Scott. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right, or at least you were pointing out bathymetric data and some of the things that you can now do on I guess it's the NOAA page, right?
Yeah, I haven't really dug into it too deep, but being able to you can put a spot out there on the Gulf, and it'll find the closest buoy and give you the information from that buoy. That was one of the things that I found on it. It shows the 9 mile line, so you can get some coordinates for that staying in state waters. Things like that. I'm sure there's a whole lot more to it that I haven't gotten really dug into yet, but it looked like pretty cool little addition to your NOAA.
Right.
Instead of just using it just for the tides at the jetties and stuff. If you're fishing offshore in the beachfront, there's some stuff in there probably come in pretty handy. It shows.
So it's in an app. Is it an app that
it's on the NOAA app and the NOAA website.
Yeah. And so you can find temperature changes. Start hitting around out there and see if you can find where there's a big temperature change. That's going to be where two currents are colliding. It's going to set up weed lines. There's some cool stuff in there. And like I said, until I really get a chance to sit down and play with it and go all through it, I put it out there on the page just in case somebody wanted to mess around with it.
Well, Dean, here's where it was interesting to me. And I think, let me just because I did do a little digging on what they could do there. And apparently it's going to be able, ideally, to also show some terrain changes. And the reason I'm thinking about it, it's perfect for like someone like me that doesn't go near shore or beachfront a whole lot, but I do every summer. Like that's a cheat code to find maybe some terrain changes, maybe some. I don't know if it goes as far as wrecks, but certainly some depths. Like it goes down to basically the floor of the body of water and shows you different terrain changes. For me, I'm gonna use the hell out of that because I don't get out there very often.
Well, when I see big words, I like to learn something and add it to my repertoire, which is another big word. But search setup, and so the data that I got from it was more what you were saying about terrain changes on the bottom, like a topographical map of the bottom of the seafloor.
Yes,
which the Gulf out here doesn't have terrain on the bottom. It's relatively flat for a lot of distances, but I mean, it's cool that, if you can find rip lines where those currents, the temperatures meet and the color changes, never pass up an opportunity to fish a rip line and such as that. And if it points you into that, that's great.
Scott, that's what I'm talking about. Like you're out there all the time and you're going to be out there even more. I go out maybe June through August, and if I can get some sort of little insight into whether it's rip lines or tide lines or even better, some terrain changes that I maybe didn't know anything about. Well, hell, that's going to help me. That's going to help anybody who has those inshore boats that occasionally goes out there.
Yeah, one of the cool areas you can look at is right outside Pascavallo. Go on their map and just start zooming in and get closer and closer. And then you can, at first, when you're looking at it and it's from far, the high up look of most of the coast, it all looks the same. Then as you start zooming in, you can start seeing some the sandbars and the cuts and different things that are around there. And it really, one of the things that did for me on that was it showed me why I have tarpon in one particular area.
Oh, really?
There's one area that I really, really like, and I've always found fish there, and I always find some, that's one of my go-to spots. And come to find out, there's a reason. In running my depth finder, I see some of that, but seeing an overall picture of it and how it's set up was kind of cool.
Dean, I'm thinking about us, jetty people that are either right inside or outside, maybe a couple of miles at the most of the jetties. I mean, there are currents, there are, ravines maybe that are built, even if they're not that big, that can certainly help us maybe hone in on, because you and I know exactly where we go, when we're looking for kingfish. I'd be interested to see what's there.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Like Scott said, he knows where those things consistently happen. Now you can look and see what is down there.
Mhm.
When we're trolling around at the jetties, I go through certain little patches of water and I tell everybody, it's like, this is the strike zone.
Mhm.
This is where it's going to happen. Or if you troll out of that area, it's like, we're going to turn around, we're going to go back through there. And yeah, be interesting to know if there is something in that one specific area that's making that happen. But fishing at the jetties and those, we're not covering wide expanses of water.
Mhm.
You can, man, you can make shit in 2 or 3 hours. Man, you can make 20 laps in
Mhm.
the area, where what I call the strike zone. And then, of course, there's days if you're not getting that hit, you venture outside of that, you try something different. And if you know what you're aiming for, it's not just a shot in the dark, then hey, there's something 3 miles in that direction. Let's head for that and see what happens. So, I mean, it's just another information overload. I mean, there's so much to do to study before you go out there, but that sounds like a good one, man,
Yeah.
especially if you want to broaden your horizons and then get out of the same thing that you do a lot,
Mhm.
to go out and explore a new option, something you found.
Something I was just playing with on it as you were talking. I just slid over to a couple of the back lakes that I like to go to.
That
And
was gonna be my next question. That was gonna
I
go
know
ahead.
my way in and out, and I know there's some cuts that are really, really shallow and the tide's out, and you don't want to go across those. You want to find a little deeper cut. It
Mhm.
shows on there the actual deep cut part. It's like it's kind of like Google Earth on steroids here. You
Mhm.
know, it's not showing you a picture of the bushes and all that, but it's showing you the height of everything and the depth of everything.
So
So
can you imagine, like,
it's showing you some big
so
old sandbars, and then it shows me that there's a cut that goes off just one side of that sandbar has a cut through it.
so let me get this right, because I know I want to ask Dean about it too. But Scott, that was going to be my next question. So the NOAA, the bathymetric data, and again, I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right, but it seems right.
Bathy stuff.
It'll yeah, it'll help us in bays too, and that can help in a number of ways, even places we think we know.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's some cool stuff in there. And
Mm-hmm.
just start zooming in on the area that you really like to fish. When you first click on it, it's not that impressive, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a wide view. But once you start digging in and zooming down to your particular little areas, I
Mm-hmm.
think there's some stuff you can learn from it.
And so where are you seeing this map?
Yeah, let's help the listeners out. What are you clicking on? What are
Yeah,
you?
help a
Okay.
brother out.
On, on the
Dean's
post
interested. You got Dean's interest. You got Dean's interest.
on the post I put up, there's 2 links,
Mm-hmm.
and click on that first link.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where
the
did you
top,
find? So are you on the NOAA website?
yeah, it goes the post that I put up about it on the Bite Me page. You can click on the first link, and it'll take you to a big overall map
Mm-hmm.
of the whole U.S. And then you can start zooming into your area.
This is
Gotcha.
this is going to be good. I mean, if it allows and helps with bays, even all of a sudden, we're talking. I mean, I'm zooming in on it right now down in Aransas Pass.
Yeah, this is going to
And
be a really boring podcast because we're all three going to be looking at this.
no, but I think what it
Ah,
does,
ah.
what it does is the more you click in, you actually do see, and it has the layers, of what to look at on the topography, etc. So yeah, no, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because you can click on the layers, you can do whatever you want on that.
Whoa, man, this is cool.
Yeah, there goes Dean.
Whoa. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we've lost Dean. We've
Damn. Now everybody's gonna know my honey hole at the jetties.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what I'm
went,
looking at too.
I just went to one of my other tarpon spots. Just slid down the coast a little to one other spot where I found a lot of fish, and
Yeah.
then boom, there's a hole there.
Yeah, Dean, I'm looking at the honey hole too. Why are we talking about this? Maybe I'll edit this out. No, I won't. But no, this is fantastic.
I'm gonna go erase that link.
I'm gonna go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff down there.
Well, that's why we bring it to the
Yeah,
podcast.
you sound
man.
like I was lying to you or something.
You think we're amateurs?
Look, man, see what? You may have known to deceive me a little bit once in a while in the past.
I'm looking at the Port O'Connor jetties because I want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop
make sure
a pin on
his too.
I'm gonna drop a pin on Scott's spot.
That's exactly right. But again, this is not an April Fool's joke. This is NOAA. Scott put the link. I guess I feel like I have to qualify it all the time. Link on our group page, and it just seems like, oh, that's kind of cool. Offshore guys can, find some things that maybe they didn't know before. Nah, man, inshore. You can find it on your place. If nothing else, even some, like you said, Scott, some humps, some sandbars, and things like that. I think it's going to make you a safer boater. Which I don't know if does it show engine blocks? Does it show?
Hey, wait a minute.
Dean's going to look to see if the engine block is there.
Let's see if there's a little spot. Hey, look, there's John's propeller.
Well, maybe that's a little bit too detailed. But yeah, no, we're not going to just.
There's some, there's dug channels throughout the bays, like Port Lavaca on the bay there.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever wondered how that channel works to go to Alcoa, I mean, it shows it just clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
It shows exactly how it's set up, where it turns, some humps off the side of it.
Yeah,
might come in handy later on. Some little offshoots of it that go back over towards Port Lavaca. There's some cool stuff in there.
Yeah. And Dean, and I know we're losing you here, Dean. We'll try to make it better.
I'm back.
If you really want to be blown away, you can go also to layers, and it even does on the same page. It even does the Google Earth, so you can kind of compare one to the other. Like you go to the base maps, and then it has different layers and all that. But I thought it'd be cool for our listeners, and obviously it's cool for our hosts.
One of the things I really liked on it, when you touch the screen anywhere, it automatically gives you the coordinates to it. That exact.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Exactly where you touch the screen. It'll give you the exact coordinates.
I'm trying to put this thing down, and you guys, y'all lead me deeper down the rabbit hole. I'm trying to figure out how to save it to my home page.
Well, yeah. Well, remember, you're going to have plenty of hours to play with it here in the next couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. I got 5 weeks to become an expert
on the NOAA. But anyway, go to the website, go to our group page, and join it if you can. There's 10,800 people, great questions, etc. And you can play around with it. I'm sure I'll be playing around with it now for the rest of the evening after the podcast. But it's cool, and it's just another little tool. It makes you a little safer, makes you a little better fisherman, and that's what we're here for. Now, let's get to something. Tell me if this is just me. It can't just be me. I was.
Sometimes it has been just you.
Sometimes it
proceed.
Has. I'll let you guys decide. So I was playing around on our group page, and somebody posted a video of some dude, showing off how skinny his boat runs. I know you guys saw this page, and he's running his boat for the video, for the whatever content creator or the gram or whatever, and it's going over sand, it's going through grass, it's going in very shallow narrows, etc. And this upset me, and the reason it upset me is we all like our shallow running boats. That's why I'm getting a new one. You guys have shallow running boats and skiffs and all that other stuff. But to me, we've spent a lot of time here, Dean, talking about how you get up in shallow water, putter out and turn your wheel and be careful and all that. I feel like, and maybe this is a little bit too much, show-offs and content creators are making things worse for everybody.
Look, and it's not just you on this subject. Absolutely. What gets me is when boat manufacturers use that in their commercials, when they use that in their advertising. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you have the ability. And then certain areas, I mean, if you're just in mud and you're just in an area where you're not going to do some damage, but if you're on grass beds, if you're on flats that are very sensitive to that kind of behavior, and then people see it in other areas and then they go duplicate it in areas that it really should not happen, you're doing a disservice to the fishing world. You're doing a disservice to the boaters out there.
To their habitat.
Yeah. And you're teaching bad behavior. And unfortunately, people duplicate bad behavior. They see it and then they go out and it becomes a thing, and then it kind of becomes the norm. And I know Scott's fixing to tear some new buttholes here. So go ahead on, Scott.
My biggest thing is we've talked about it here before. It has changed the way redfish act. And if it's changed the way redfish act, I guarantee it's changed the way trout act as well. Even, the big trout that get up there shallow, we used to see a whole lot more of that. Part of it's, we don't have as many trout as we used to have. But, I mean, every time those big schools, the younger guys give me a hard time about it when I talk about it sometimes. It wasn't that big of a deal to show up in Port O'Connor after not fishing it for 2 or 3 weeks. I was living in Houston area, come down here and immediately go out there and find me 4, 5, 6 good schools of reds. Tailing up on the flats, doing their thing. Mule slough was just a given. And back then we had deeper running boats. We'd run up the oil field channel, park at the end of it, and get out and wade. And we would wade for miles and spend all day. Have a backpack, put a drink in it, and let's go. And just walking up on these gigantic schools of reds, all tailed up and happy and feeding. And now it's a big deal when I find a good school these days. I mean, I found probably 2 last year that I would consider being big schools. Now, the little pods of, 8 or 10 fish, and then some pods of little babies, the little 12, 14, 15-inch reds. I still find those in big schools, but they're stupid. They haven't learned yet. But the actual upper slot fish that we used to have that would roam around in schools of 50, 100, 200 fish, Dean had them, saw them down there on the kayaks many times on those flats. But now
shoreline to shoreline redfish that do not exist anymore. They do not exist in a relatively short time. I mean, this has been 10 years. If you want to go back a couple more, call it 15. And the flats of Redfish Bay, and a fine example of that is you can go on and you can look at pictures of the flats. You can scroll back on, it may be Google Maps. There's maps out there where you can scroll back in time. And so you can look at the flats of Redfish Bay in 1970, in 1980, 1990, and you can look at the degradation of the seagrasses, and you can look at the millions of prop scars, every square inch. Hell, the oyster reefs have prop scars in them. The extinct oyster reefs, and that abuse, wholesale abuse. And, I can sit here and complain, or I can be negative forever, but it's just a product of population growth. It's a product of the popularity of the place. There have built thousands and thousands of homes since then. Every house has a new boat under the carport. Every one of those boats are engineering works of art. The dependability of the engines, the ability to run shallow, the electronics that you have to get to places that used to be very difficult to navigate and get to. It opened the doors for that access to those areas. And then you see the commercials where the dude is standing in ankle deep water, and the boat zooms right by him. Go where you've never been before. And then all of those boats are out there duplicating that kind of behavior. And, you know, once upon a time, it was, you know, an unwritten rule. You didn't run where you were going to fish. You ran upwind and drifted into those areas or walked into those areas. I mean, it was huge to run across the areas that people were fishing in or you were about to fish. Now you see guys run straight across the flat, straight upwind, shut it down and turn and drift right through what they just ran through. And
well, that's right. But here's the thing: like all the things that you just mentioned, we've talked about. We know that there are efforts from us, you know, to about, you know, seagrass and oyster reefs. We've talked about it multiple times on this podcast. But when I saw that video, I went back and saw others, you know, just to make myself even more mad, I guess, Scott. But you know, I was like, I think we're kind of forgetting and missing something that's right in front of us, and that is, as Jay said, there used to be a time when people were ashamed to show everyone what a moron they were, and now they post evidence. And then there's James, who just honed in on it perfectly. You got to get those likes and thumbs up, and that's what I'm talking about. Like I feel like we're forgetting these wannabe, and again, we create content. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here. We all do. All three of us do videos. All three of us do pictures. All three of us run in shallow water. But when it's too shallow and you're just tearing it up, and here's the other thing, Scott, most quote content creators, whether they have 50 followers or 500,000 followers or whatever, they rarely get that on the first take. You know, they rarely get the video they want on the first take. They are ripping this stuff up. I just feel kind of dumb that we haven't really talked about the guys that are putting this out there for other people to emulate.
And you can see you know, they just said, you know, it's all for the likes and thumbs up. Go read the comments behind it.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be one negative and then there'll be 10, 15, 20 positive. Dude, that was so cool. That was, you know, that was rad. Oh, it's awesome, man. What boat is that? What, you know, what kind of setup is that? The ones who profit the most from this are Seed Tow and Towboat USA and the boat repair guys that change out lower units and water pumps.
Yeah.
Those are the people who really benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
Us that love the shallow water stuff, we're not benefiting one bit from it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the guy there, he interacted with me a little bit and said, you know, well, the tide was low and I had to get in and out of fish pond. You know, what would you have done? You know, you would have run in there too. No, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
If it's that low that day, I'm going to go fish somewhere else. I got a bunch of other places I can go without going through and tearing anything up.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes down to I can tear up stuff and go to my fishing spot, or I can maybe not catch as many fish, but go to another spot without tearing something up, I'm choosing the second one.
And Dean, you know, I know I texted you after this because we were out in different boats, but out in the same area on a really low tide day. And the reason I'm saying this is because it kind of references what Scott talked about. I got greedy. I got whatever word you want to use, and I said I think I'm going to go into Ransom Flats. And as soon as I got in there, I knew if I stop this boat, I'm just going to start tearing stuff up, maybe get stuck and everything. And I think I texted you. I just ran all the way across like 6 miles or however long it is and didn't stop because you can make mistakes. You can be greedy, you know, like I was. But once you realize, this is 3 inches and I'm going to start tearing stuff up, just keep going. You don't start creating content.
Yeah. And then, you know, you can run in there and then you realize what kind of situation is, and you can not turn it into a worse situation. But this is also not unique to saltwater boats. I have seen many videos of the bass boats running through creeks, little inlets and stuff where they are just 300 horsepower to the floor, mud to the sky, and they got their smiling, grinning face in the camera, filming the rooster tail behind them, running through. I mean, just trashing the areas where they're going to fish. And yeah, it's all about the likes. It's all about the it's just the world is a different place, man. But it is what it is.
One of the biggest things to me, yeah, yes, it tears up the habitat, but I honestly, and I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and a bunch of older guys that have fished a long time, it has changed the way that the fish act. We've changed the way that they feed and the things that they do. They don't stay up on the flats like they used to. Some flats, I've got a flat over here in Port O'Connor that in the 80s was unbelievable. And now it's a damn freeway. And all it is, it's a shortcut.
Yeah.
It cuts about 3 minutes off of your run. And people will cut across it and run across that foot deep to less all day, every day, see it continuously. There's a channel that goes a little bit further out if you just go around and you're running in 4, 5, 6 feet and you're not up there on the flat. And it's not about, in that case, they're not tearing the grass up. It's a foot deep. They got shallow running boats. It's a tunnel hole. It's a cat. You got your prop all tucked up. You're not harming the grass running across it like that, but you're changing the fish. You're changing what they do. And that's important to me. You
It's
know,
very important.
I like seeing those fish up there on those shallow flats. One thing it's done for me is pushed a lot of fish further and further back, and places that I can go in that little poling skiff that other people don't go. So,
or they've completely abandoned those areas too from day-to-day abuse. That's but I don't know. I don't think that world's ever going to change, unfortunately.
No. We have faster boats. We have better boats. We have boats that will run skinnier, and that's not going to change.
And we have a generation behind us that lives for the IG.
Right.
I mean, when they take off in the morning, their goal is to get that post, to get something on video, to get that reel, and that is the goal. So the crazier, the more dramatic, the better. I mean, it's on their mind to get this shot, to get it on some form of social media, and it's just we're the old guys now, man. We're to get off my grass, dude.
Well, okay, I'm glad you said that, because again, I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I don't want us to be hypocrites. We create content. We do these
but
things.
You'll never see us doing that. And then it's not that we do it and don't video it.
Yeah.
We don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. And we give Caleb a hard time about running around with his hair on fire. Caleb knows more about all these things, and he knows how to do it better than
exactly. And then another aspect to that, to running those flats, where it scrolled past here just a minute in the contents, you can run onto those flats, you can run in those shallows and shut it down. But when you do that, you have a goal. You're going to set your drift up where you are drifting into deeper water. You're not going to set up a drift where your boat gets blown into shallower and shallower water. And then you have to blast out of that mud or the grass and do a lot of damage. I always have where the boat stops is not where I'm intending to fish. Where the boat stops is upwind 100, 200, 300 yards from where I intend on catching a fish. And then 100, 200 yards beyond that is deeper water where you're going to jump up easily.
And Perry says he's confused as you have a boat that runs 3 inches. How are you not tearing up the grass? And yes, the grass is there. You're running a tunnel hole or a cat type boat. That boat is sitting up. You can feel it when you run up onto a shallow spot. The boat lifts up. It's compressing water down, and it's pulling water up into your prop. The prop is not below the bottom of the boat when you're running full out.
It's a pressure wave that you get up on.
Yeah, you're on a pressure wave, and you can feel it. You can definitely feel it lift up. And then when you hit deeper water, you feel it sit back down. When water's really dirty, like in the past, last year, I hit a sandbar and felt it lift. And I was in the general cutting through there, and all of a sudden I felt that lift, and I couldn't see the bottom. It was so muddy and nasty. But I knew damn good and well I was in a little bit of trouble right there. and I worked my way over to where I knew there was a little deeper, where the deeper edge was. I just found a sandbar that got moved by one of the storms. And as soon as I hit that deeper water, the boat set back down.
Yeah.
You can tell and you can feel it. And that's running across a flat like that. It's not great. I don't like it because you're spooking the fish when you're just burning flats, but you're not harming the grass when you're doing that if you make a mistake. Like you said, while you ran up onto a flat and it was too shallow for you, you didn't sit down.
Right.
You kept going.
I was like, screw this. I can find somewhere else, because I knew as soon as I sat down. Yeah.
You weren't tearing the grass up. You made a mistake. You got up there shallow. That's what those boats are for, is to keep you from having a really bad day and, screwing up and plowing into something. If you find out that you're too damn shallow, you can make a big loop and start easing back out and go somewhere else without tearing anything up. But if you sat down, now you're stuck. And you're going to have to tear a bunch of stuff up to get out of there.
And feeling that pressure wave and running on that pressure wave comes with experience. You feel it, and it's sensitive. It's not real obvious. If you've been running a boat a lot and you're doing that, you feel the difference when that boat steps up on that pressure wave. And then also it comes with raising your motor on the jack plate and tilting it to that level that the prop, and if you're on a tunnel or a cat, like on my Scout, the propeller is above the bottom of the boat. It is running in the tunnel. The tunnel channels water above the bottom of the boat, and you jack that plate up, tilt that engine to where it's right at the edge of cavitating, and then have the cavitation plate above the propeller. It keeps that water compressed against the prop. The water that's churning from that propeller is also pushing the back of the boat up on that cavity. It's like a wing back there.
Yeah.
And all of that together puts you above that grass. But it's knowing how to use your boat. It's knowing the area that you're in. It's knowing, the mud. You're not going to hurt a lot of mud. You churn mud. There's places that it is way less detrimental than the seagrass beds. That, you chop up the seagrass to the roots, they don't come back. I mean, that is gone forever.
I think what I'm getting at here is, we all understand, what era we live in, and we're not old fuddy-duddies, because, you talked about that, Dean, you kidded about that, but we have so many thousands of listeners, and so many of them are young. Like Jay just said right here, I just bought my first boat, and I'm definitely a little anxious about learning the waterways, navigating safely and responsible. I guess what I'm getting at is we have such a footprint in the world of fishing, thankfully, thank God, we're blessed enough to be in this situation where thousands of people listen to us. Scott, I guess what I'm getting at here is you can do exactly what we do, what hundreds, if not thousands of fishermen do, but you don't have to do it for the gram and tear things up. Because we talk about, how let me put it this way. How much more habitat is torn up with one 30-second video compared to just the usual degradation of habitat? It's probably 1,000 times more.
Well, yeah, because there's 1,000 people that saw that video and think they can do it.
Yeah.
And that's where the real problem comes in. I can never forget the very first time that on the Redfish Cup, I saw a tower boat running and they had the cameras on it. It was on ESPN or one of those, went back when the Redfish Cup was the only redfish tournament around, and they were burning a shoreline down there, down lower Laguna Madre. And when I saw that tower boat burning with two guys standing on it, I thought to myself, man, I hope this doesn't catch on. Because I knew where that was going. And
that was the beginning of it. I mean, that's, if you want to go back to advertising and making it popular, the Redfish tournaments on ESPN, exposed that behavior. And then, I mean, they showed those dudes circling schools of redfish, burning the flats, spotting the schools, crashing into the middle of them, throwing, catching, chasing until that school was completely disrupted. And just to backtrack a little bit on the question about, you know, I got my new boat and I want to learn. The price of admission to a guide that is local to that area is worth more than every penny that you will spend. You will save money on boat repairs. Just ask John Lopez how much a lower unit shaft and rebuild would cost.
$2,800, by the way.
Man, that's like 4 guided trips right there. So going with somebody who knows the area, it's worth every penny. It'll take forever to learn that to the way you want to learn it and the way you need to know it to get out there. But it definitely is a great advantage to go with somebody who has some
Scott?
Experience. Hey man, and I told him to avoid that corner just for the record.
You did not.
I said never ever cut that corner close.
Okay,
the
well, you did
caveat
say
is
that.
you have to listen to the guide that you hired for your area, and you have to.
I was in
remember
the vicinity of the right place. I was within maybe 4 feet of the.
You
right
don't
place.
listen. You don't listen good.
Don't cut that corner right there.
Yeah, well, I
He wasn't making it up.
I thought I didn't. I'm gonna have to go to NOAA and find that damn engine block. But nah, man. But just nobody here is. Well, yeah, I did.
I already looked. I couldn't see it.
By the way,
it's down there.
A few weeks later, the tide was so low, it was actually exposed, and I went, damn.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid.
And when that tide is so low that those obstructions like that are exposed, those skinny flats that you run around on a normal tide, there is no water in there. That is your sign. There should be a red flag on that thing. The proverbial red flag is when the engine is sticking out from the scuttled shrimp boat that was scuttled in 1945, which that is all that's left of it. When you can see it, beyond that is no man's land.
All right, we'll move on here because there's some fishing stuff we want to get to before we get out of here. Oh, by the way, did get a post on the group page about the feeding frenzy, and Carrie actually posted a comment on this, and she's not wrong, but it's not official yet. So I want to let everybody know that the feeding frenzy, we'll have the actual official dates after we talk a little more in May, probably here in the next month or so. So we'll post all those details, but it's going to be badass. I mean, it's going to be another great one, maybe bigger and better than ever. So I did want to mention that. All right, so let's talk about crossover lures, and this comes from a discussion I had with Mark Nichols, our friend over at DOA Lures, because I was bragging to him that that big snake that he has. It's about a good 8-9 inch snake. I've been determined to catch a fish on that. Sorry, that came out funny. But I'm sure he'll appreciate it, though. I'm sure Mark will appreciate that. You guys are really taking the place of Caleb at this point. You're really taking Caleb's content here. Anywho, there's a snake. It's a freshwater snake that Mark invented for freshwater bass fishing, etc. And he was determined that it could catch redfish. It's caught a bunch of redfish and trout for him. I finally caught a nice big red with it a while back. So it got me thinking about this. Freshwater lures that should absolutely, Dean, not be actually, I'll start with Scott. Freshwater lures that absolutely should not be ignored when you're going to saltwater.
Spinner baits. I've talked about them a bunch on here. Spinner baits, any of your top waters, crankbaits, rattle trap type, lipless crankbaits. They all work. Heavy jigs. I've used bass jigs and bounced them along on the bottom in front of redfish just out of curiosity. you know, the ones with the looks like a spinnerbait skirt on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may be a half ounce. You know, they're big, heavy, and they'll kick up a bunch of mud, and they look like a crab crawling across the bottom when you get to
Mhm.
look and, you know, watch how it goes across there. Makes a little mud trail, and redfish will swim right up on it, tail up on it, and pounce it. You got to think bass are predators.
Mm-hmm.
All the bass that they're fishing for, they're all predators. They eat bait fish. Anything a bass eats, a redfish and a trout's going to eat the same thing. You know, it's imitating in some way or shape or fashion some kind of bait fish. So
Mhm.
pretty much anything that you can catch a bass on, you can catch a redfish or a trout on.
But here's the question, Dean. A lot of us are just sort of ingrained. Oh, that's a freshwater lure. Oh, that's a freshwater lure, and we
Yeah.
don't throw them as much as we should. I know
Well,
I don't. Now I will
hey.
say this. Go ahead.
Props to the marketing world in the
Mhm.
multi-billion-dollar industry of fishing. Scott said it. The bass are very predatory. The redfish and speckled trout, flounder, very predatory fish. Even though they steal a lot, they're a very aggressive predator when something is in front of their face. So anything shiny, vibrating, put some wiggle, put some flash, top waters, put the rattle, put the splash on the surface, you're going to get a reaction from the predator that is living down there. However, the bass world, oh my God, how many billions of dollars do they make selling the multitude of lures that are out there? And then when it comes down to it, whenever, just like me, Scott, those that fish every day use normally a relatively small selection
That's what I'm
of
saying.
lures.
Yeah.
But go to the store, man. Walk in the FTU, Anglers Anonymous, and look at the rows and the rows of colors, lures. And of course, the spinnerbait, man. I mean, it made a huge impact in the saltwater world a few years back. I mean, then they started marketing them. They packaged them for saltwater. But yeah, props to the guys that sell lures.
Yeah.
We're all in the wrong business, man. We should have been lure salesmen.
So I saw it was crazy. Ran across a video the other day. This dude he's upset because he's hung his lure up in the tree, you know, and throwing up there monkey fishing. And he says, I can't just break that off. That's $160 swim bait.
Oh, I saw
What?
that.
What?
Yeah.
$160 swim bait.
Yeah.
I mean, I want some titanium line hooked up to that thing onto my spool, because can you imagine?
I think
Can you
he got
imagine a
had.
big-
I don't care. I don't care what anybody says.
I saw another ad the other day that had, it was some type of custom made, custom painted, I think it was a subsurface top waters. They were like a stick bait.
Mhm.
And they were all in the over $100 range. And hey, good job.
$100?
Yes, yes, per lure. I don't know if it's got solid gold hooks on it, what the deal is. I mean, you buy those for your wife for earrings, man, at Valentine's Day or
Exactly.
something. But
I mean,
yeah,
it was blessed by Jimmy Houston himself.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that
Maybe.
thing, it better have some unbreakable line. Or it comes with a monkey to run up the tree and pull the hook out.
I see these guys using 100-pound braid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What does
yeah.
that accomplish? I will say this, getting back to the freshwater lures, you know, I kind of brought it up with Dean about, like, you know, we're conditioned not to throw them for whatever reason, marketing and otherwise. But Scott, I know you and I had this discussion maybe a couple of years ago. Crankbaits at the jetties, keep those in your box. Keep them in your box. And plus they're easier. Like you can throw right up on the rocks, get it down in the water. Like, they don't get stuck as often. You know, that's the one that I still often use, is crankbaits on the jetties.
Yeah, those deep diving crankbaits with that huge bill on them, they just bang off the rocks.
Yeah.
You want them to hit the rocks. You want them banging into the rocks and making noise. That was another one of those Redfish Cup deals. We we're all up there fishing the marshes and the bays and doing all of that. And these bass guys showed up because there was some, some good money was starting to get into these redfish cups.
Mm-hmm.
And for about 2 or 3 tournaments in a row, we got our butts handed to us. And come to find out, these guys were just doing nothing but bass fishing along the jetties.
Mm-hmm.
They were throwing heavy crankbaits and lipless
No,
crankbaits.
rattle traps were all the rage. A sinking rattle trap has victimized many a speckled trout along those rocks.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about all those things that we mentioned, they all work. They all catch fish. If you're not snagging the bottom or snagging the tree, or snagging the tree underwater opposed to snagging the tree above the water. But if they appeal to the predatory senses of what's out there, have some fun with it, experiment, throw some things, or just live with what you love. They all work. They all catch fish.
Yeah.
Frank was talking about, he was throwing an $80 handmade Donkey Bay glide bait. Can you imagine if a jackfish grabbed a hold of that?
A Spanish Mac? A Spanish Mac.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you tie that thing on. It's in the water 10 seconds. Think at your line.
There goes $80.
And that's another thing. So during the year, like the kingfish, or when the Spanish mackerel are thick, man, I like those rapalas, those swimming mackerel. Man, them rapalas ain't cheap nowadays.
Yeah.
And you pull a brand new one, you put an awesome wire leader on it, you spend all this time rigging up, man, it's the water 10 seconds, dink. It's a heartbreaker. And after you lose $200 out there, then you go to Walmart to the discount rack where you can buy, the big trolling baits that are half of the price, and it drives you to like do something a little different, and you still catch the same fish. You still catch the same fish on those things. So I mean, they do work, but man, $100 a lure. Even those rapalas, I mean, they're still like $26, but that's a badass lure, man. It's got metal lip on it. It's got it's got hardware, and it's still, I thought $26 was a little outrageous.
Well, if I remember right, last time we talked about and raved about the crankbaits on the jetties, we got a couple of nasty comments on the group page because a lot of people think it's a secret. I'm telling you, man, it's pretty good. But I'm with you.
The thing about the crankbaits down south where the grass is, that lip just catches too much grass.
Sure,
it is.
Sure.
The one that does work is that baby -1, tiny little lip. It runs 1 inch under the surface above the grass. It's a deadly effective lure on the flats, but it's always about avoiding the grass, the floating grass, the grass on the bottom. Crankbaits, man, it's a tough one here.
Yeah. Before we get to what would Scott do and Dean do this weekend, I really, to be honest, I haven't even looked that closely, so I'm going to be relying on you guys on what's happening. I do want to at least kind of bring it full circle. We're talking about, content creators or so-called content creators tearing things up. We did get a nice interview, which is on this YouTube page if you want to go back and look at it, with Shane Bonneau from BCA. I asked you guys, it was easy homework. It was a piece of cake. He really dug in on some of the things that they're going to do with that money. And obviously, no matter how much things are torn up, Scott, it seems like it's $4.4 million and change that they got some really good projects in the works. And, it's not like all is lost here. But what were your thoughts on Shane Bonneau and what he was saying this money is getting referred to?
That's pretty cool. And you hear a lot of passion on CCA, but they do a hell of a lot of good. And he's like, oh man, they're just lining their pockets. This shows you they're not. I mean, they're putting the money back out there. Yes, they pay some salaries, but somebody's got to do the work, and you got to get paid for it. But yeah, $1 million dedicated to oyster buyback, the oyster license buyback, like we talked about a little while back. One of them I liked was 588,000 is going to tarpon tagging and
Me too. I was going to
research.
ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. The life history, the migration pathways, the stock structure. You know, how old are all these fish? They're going to do some studying on that. That'll kind of help us out as to where some estuaries might be that need to be protected for the baby tarpon. We know that they're hatching out here because we've got juvenile tarpon in the bays.
Yeah.
I'm catching them along the jetties, and those fish don't migrate. So we need to learn the areas that they're using to grow up and protect those kind of places.
But hold on real quick on that. You don't even know, and you're out there catching tarpon all the time, some of the details of this stuff, right?
Yeah, I've got ideas, and
Mhm.
I've read a lot on it. I know the basic life cycle. Tarpon Bonefish Trust has done a whole lot of work on it, but the Texas tarpon really hasn't been worked that much. There's been some tagging, there's been some stuff done on it, but we know they go to Mexico, and we know they come back, and we don't know where they're breeding, how they breed. There's some theories on it that they go way offshore on a full moon and breed, and that the incoming tides bring the babies back into the bays. Uh, but then we also find some big tarpon up inside the bays at times during the summer. So could those be breeding in there? There's just a whole lot that we don't know about tarpon. That really cool if we can learn a little bit more about it with this.
What else stood out? And I'm going to ask you this because Dean, it appears, is literally that kid doing his homework assignment in the back of the class during class. It looks like he's reading, looking at Shane Bonneau's. Looking at Shane Bonneau's results. Well, yeah, I got an answer for you. Just give me 2 more minutes. But what else stood out for you there, Scott?
A couple of $1 million is going to oyster restoration in Karankel and Ayers Bay. That's cool. You know, it takes a lot of money to rebuild something that was torn up by the oyster guys. And what just amazes me is how much money did they make tearing up that reef, and how much is it going to cost to fix it?
Yeah.
It's cost them way more to fix these reefs than it was than the value that they got out of it that went to the restaurants.
Yeah.
And then some shoreline stuff. You know, they're east and west Galveston Bay and Nueces. They're doing some shoreline projects. That's usually a marsh restoration type deal. They do some man-made marshes. I've fished a lot of those, and they're pretty damn cool. They got it figured out pretty well.
Yeah. Dean, did you finish?
I'm the guy who copies off of Scott's playbook.
He was leaning back in his chair. If you're watching us live, he's just going through his iPad. Okay, what else? What else happened? What else is going on? What do I need to know?
I
have nothing else to. Scott covered it good.
He did.
There was one more little thing that they're working on through the Heart Institute. And Heart Research is to start a citizens tagging program and get regular fishermen involved in tagging on redfish and trout.
Yeah,
that might be kind of cool as well.
Yeah, I actually I'm in that. I have a tagging kit and all of that stuff that goes with those guys. So yes, they started with snook and then it branched off into trout and redfish, and they want really giant trout. They don't want every trout. They're trying to specialize in what big trout do. And so, yeah, John, the next time you catch one, we could put a tag in it. And
I'd love that. I'd love that. By the way, that was a
you can be part of the program.
I want to be a part of it. There was an 11.5 pound trout somebody posted on our 32 inches, 31 and a half inches on our page. That was pretty dang amazing.
And it's awesome to know they're out there, man. It's good to see those fish. The one thing I would add on that was, man, I wish that a 31-inch trout was handled with a little more care. I get the excitement. I get it. But hoisting a trout that big by its bottom lip on a boga grip and swinging it around, I would put a little more tenderness and care into that. And I mean, and there's great ways to support that belly, to support the entire fish, but it was a beautiful trout. Don't want to take nothing away from
Yeah.
the accomplishment, but you know, the fact that that is such a unique fish and such an amazing contributor to the gene pool out there. Handle those things with a little love and care. Get your picture, get your like, get your thumbs up.
Yeah.
But support the belly. Scott has explained this before in the past about the reason to do that. Fish live in water. They're weightless. Their innards aren't designed to hang in gravity. It is supported by water. So when you hold a fish up in the air like that, that's that heavy, everything inside of that fish
Goes
is
down.
getting pulled at a torque rate that is not intended. So
No, I'm with you.
there could be those, but beautiful fish, amazing. The results of the limits, and that's another thing. We're coming up on that time of year where a lot of speckled trout that 2 years ago would have been going across the table. Every trout over 20 inches is going back in the water,
Yeah.
and that is, there'll be more of those. That
Yeah.
is going to be the long-term results. We had a relatively mild winter, a good winter. All those fish that went back in the water last year got a chance to be caught again.
Some hosses, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Use your goat boga grip. Maybe take a quick weight, but support it sideways. The boga's not just for them hanging. Go ahead, Scott.
And now that I'm seeing some people bragging about how great their trout fishing is and all that, a lot of the names I'm seeing coming across, oh man, the trout fishing is incredible. It's all this. Were some of those same ones that were bitching at me about going up there and testifying.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I just want to come in
Garrett,
behind
oh,
you
yeah.
now and go, how you like me now?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is whenever when they went to 5 fish, when it went to the 5 fish limit, bloody murder was screamed.
Yeah.
A year, 2 years later, you couldn't find
Look at
one
this trout.
person
Look at this trout.
against that 5 fish limit. It was
Yeah.
like, where are you people now?
Yeah.
So good job, Scott. Good job. And it's
Yeah.
that's
And
a whole nother subject.
speaking of what the CCA is doing, I actually just traded emails with Lori over there, and some of the guys that they have the, might as well mention it. They have the early registration, early bird registration for the. It's time. I mean, it starts next month on May 24th. The CCA Texas Star Tournament.
Hey, are we going to have the secret video of the release of the $1 million fish?
That's why I was exchanging emails. I think we can count on that. We're going to have right here exclusively only on the Bite Me podcast, a live release of a tagged redfish right here. It'll be video. We'll share it and you can kind of figure it out. And by the way, the early bird registration, the drawing is for a 210 Dargle Scout with a 150 Mercury on it. So
this year we need to get the number off of that redfish.
Yes.
Yes. I want the number off of it so that we can see if one of our people catches it.
Yes, that's a great point. All right, real quick, what would Scott do? What would Dean do? Like I said, I haven't looked, but somebody just commented here. Another cold front coming in?
Saturday evening.
Yeah.
So Sunday here is 55 degrees.
Ooh.
But hey, it's still April, man.
Yeah. So what are you thinking, Scott? Friday, Thursday?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are all looking pretty bumpy. I mean, typical springtime stuff.
Well, but between now and the cold front, we got 25 to 30 mile an hour wind every day in the afternoon.
Every day. It's pushing 35, 36 on the gusts.
Yeah.
But Saturday, it drops down a little bit before that front as usual. So
there's a 2-hour window between now and Saturday.
Yeah, you better pay attention because it's basically
and then
from
it's
about
going to
10
turn
o'clock till dark on Saturday. You're looking pretty good.
Okay.
What do you have for north wind when it turns?
32 gusting to 40.
Oh,
yeah. In a 12-hour span, it's going to go from 30 from the south to 40 in the north.
Yeah.
Oh, and good news is Monday looks pretty good.
All right. All right. That's good for you. All right. So we'll
looking pretty sweet.
yeah, we'll get the update on Monday if you get out there. Or Dean. Well, Dean's not going to get out there. He's going to be.
I haven't been out, but I have a great network of guys here that I keep in touch with. And man, they're driving me nuts with the fish that have been caught. The wind is going to put a twist on that for the rest of this week. But the last 5 days, so after that little rainstorm went through, that low pressure, it brought the tide up. It brought a lot of water on the flats. My buddies that have been kayak fishing, the report yesterday when he sent it to me, he said he quit counting. He caught so many slot reds that he quit counting somewhere. And guys, you know, my buddies over at the marina, it's been good. I mean, so when you have a window at this time of year when the conditions allow it, when you be creative. The fishing's been good, but it's springtime, and here comes a curveball for the rest of this week.
All right. Well, you guys killed it, and we'll have Caleb back probably next week if he remembers the day of the week. But other than that, you guys killed it. I guess, you know, I need to remind myself. I need to register for the Star Tournament, get me a new dargle on top of everything else. But don't forget you can start booking, Dean. You're taking trips starting in May now. And,
yes, sir.
Scott, I know you're chomping at the bit to get out there near shore. So get with both our guys here. Yeah. All right. So really appreciate you guys joining us. Went a little long. Occasionally we do that. Often we do that, but it's always good discussion. These guys are just killing it. The dogs love it. Everybody loves it. You guys have a great week. Have a great weekend. Catch them up. We'll talk to you next time.
And look out for those motors.